Serious. What is a conspiracy theory you actually believe in? Apple made the original AirPod memes and jokes to boost the sales on them after their sales sucked the first year. The cardboard rolls that toilet paper are on have gotten wider in diameter over the years. This is one way to make the rolls look bigger. Because 6 mega rolls equals 32 normal size rolls. Honestly, I find the idea gold isn't at Fort Knox anymore believable. In the same vein, I doubt they keep anything important at Area 51 anymore. I bet they keep the sites up so we don't look anywhere else. Why or how? I don't care enough to think that deep. This is just something I heard that makes sense to me. Reagan was diagnosed with Alzheimer's when he was still in office, and his advisors told him to write a letter to the American people to be released later after it got too bad to hide. When his condition went public in 1994, they released the letter and it was almost perfect handwriting, spelling, and grammar. 6 months later he couldn't carry on a conversation. I'm convinced he didn't progress that fast in 1994 and that the entire thing was constructed over the years to look like he was mentally competent while he was president. That Dorothy Kilgallen didn't kill herself and the government was responsible for JFK's assassination. I don't know why the government would do something like that, but the evidence lines up. Reporters don't kill themselves when they're days away from publishing something that would crack the JFK case wide open. Also, witnesses saw FBI agents leaving her house with documents. Plus, the only person she handed her draft to wound up dead 2 days later. The draft, of course, went missing and the investigation into her death was laughable. That video game companies got a taste of the kind of money that gambling brings in and changed an entire industry to emulate the casino structure but for children. For the record, serious answer. But, there's this soup place at our local mall that's been there for 3 years now. I've never seen anyone order anything from there. And I rarely see anyone at the register. When our mall was closed due to COVID lockdown, quarantine, several locally owned stores shut down. And a few places in the food court. Last time I was there was for my birthday in August, and the soup place is still there. My mom and I have an array of theories about what it could be, ranging from money laundering to a front for drugs, but I cannot believe that place is legitimate. Bic doesn't fill their lighters with as much fluid as they used to. Rob Dyrdek has gotta have some serious dirt on someone at MTV to have ridiculousness on as much as possible, and constantly filming new episodes. Tom Cruise wants out of Scientology, but they have way too much on him and he's in too deep. That's why he does his own insane stunts and tries to outdo himself every MI movie. He doesn't care if he dies. It's his only way out. That the dot bought way too many traffic cones but had nowhere to store them, so they just moved them from road to road. A good chunk of AskReddit threads are from BuzzFeed employees looking for their next article. Edit. I've been on 5 of these articles and I know you'll see this. Pay me motherfrockers or start writing your own sit. That Charles Lindbergh was responsible for his son's death. There are people out there hired by companies to make dozens of fake accounts that retweet, reblog, etc. and act like real people just to advertise products. Most construction companies in America today are run by the talentless kids of the people who actually knew construction. Everyone's going heavy with theirs, but I have one that's less serious. Baby wipe containers are purposely made so that you always pull 2 to 3 wipes out at a time and therefore need to buy more often. It's definitely something I can see Big Wipe engaging in to get just a few more containers out of us each year. Deflategate was a distraction from brain damage and domestic abuse scandals in the NFL. And I say this as someone who hates Tom Brady. It should have just been a small fine and forgotten quickly. But this is the type of scandal the NFL can tolerate, whereas brain injuries and domestic abuse can hurt the league's reputation. And it worked. Distraction and news cycle dominated by this for an entire offseason rather than more serious issues. That questions like this are market research. And this question in particular is likely to be used for some pretty frocking nefarious purposes. Edit. A lot of you seem to think only BuzzFeed is interested in this data. You do you. That the same person posts this question a few times a month. That someone from the inside knew that the Boeing 737 MAX was absolutely trash and shorted the stock. This might not be a groundbreaking hot take, but I think that applying for disability status benefits is intentionally made to be a convoluted mess of bureaucratic jargon and endless hoops to jump through solely so that disabled people don't take advantage of them, either because they give up trying to navigate an intentionally confusing system, or because they make a mistake along the way, and the process gets frocked up. I'm really lucky I had my mom helping me with a lot of the paperwork, because otherwise I would never be able to get the supports I need in post-secondary. It's like someone purposefully designed the process to be as unobtainable, messy, and overwhelmingly complex for a disabled person as they possibly could. West Nile virus came to the U.S. East Coast from Plum Island. This island officially has an animal disease research lab, and officially it's suspected as being a bioweapons research facility. Anthrax being the most known suspect. However, several diseases have suddenly appeared over the years in the area with no history. West Nile and Dutch duck disease being two big ones. There is a book, Lab 257, that goes into greater detail. That the government creates or at least promotes crazy conspiracy theories to make the true ones seem crazy by association. Dollar slice pizza places. This may not make sense to people who don't live in New York City. We have these great places that sell a plain slice of pizza, cheese only, for $1. I can't believe they make rent and payroll on volume with $1. Slice and the going rent rates. This has to be some sort of money laundering scam. But one where no one cares because you get a slice of pizza for $1. Might not be the best pizza. But damn, $1 slice. I'll always stop in if I'm passing one on the street. This just can't be economically feasible and something else is going on. The NBA rigged the 1985 draft lottery for the New York Knicks to get Patrick Ewing. That the international establishment are not cracking down on the slave trade because too many of them benefit from slaves. Wage slaves, debt slaves, indentured servants, passport hostage victims, Magdalene laundresses, unpaid internships, etc. themselves. New Coke was just a distraction so we didn't notice the change to high fructose corn syrup. It was never supposed to work. Certain ultra-wealthy rich have slowly politicized the news over the past decades in the way of brainwashing the population into believing their agenda. Along with possibly having multiple news channels, e.g. left or right-leaning channels, to attract more viewers, so if they don't like one they may go into the other one which they agree more with. Additionally, increasing the entertainment part of the news and decreasing the news and educational parts of the news. The government watch us, but not on an individual level. Like they don't read every email and text you send, is more like they an algorithm that filters of the metadata of the people and use that determine the possible dangers to a zone. That my phone listens to conversations. Far too many situations where I'd talk about something random and see adverts about it on FB and Instagram without me ever searching for it. That the FBI killed MLK due to him beginning to talk about wealth distribution. The critical falls in our economic system, and class consciousness. They were worried he could have actually sparked change and awareness in those areas. Apps track your location, even if you have the permission turned off. Women's clothing doesn't have adequate pockets because the purse and handbag industry wants to ensure women continue to buy bags to carry their things. Tommy Wiseau is actually D.B. Cooper. That Facebook's outage the day before the whistleblower went in front of the Senate was no accident. Feral humans living in state forests. Edit. Typo. The fine art market is a scam run by the ultra-wealthy to hide and preserve their wealth. The Secret Service is also the group in charge of keeping all retired, past government officials quiet. It's crazy to think that all of these powerful people don't spill their knowledge at some point before they die. Once they get a certain clearance, then a detailed profile is built of who their family and friends are and somehow passed to them as a keep your mouth shut or things will happen to these people. Whenever a popular congressman voluntarily retires in the middle of their term, I think that they keep learning that they wish they hadn't and that it's time to just get out. Disney called the movie Frozen, in an attempt to dilute search results about Walt's head. The world stock market is rigged, and most trading happens behind the scenes. All countries have ninjas. We only know about Japanese ninjas BC, they're the worst. That rogue and non-rogue members in the FBI, CIA, and Mafia conspired to kill, and killed JFK, RFK, MLK, and Malcolm X. We have documented proof the government worked with the mob on a couple different occasions. I think the proof is there to connect all the dots. Just my opinion. China is using TikTok to develop a database to experiment and perfect deepfake technology and techniques. Epstein didn't kill himself. The media is the biggest stirrer of fear and anger and use it in order to stay relevant to keep the funds rolling in. The VA provides substandard care to lower the life expectancy of veterans because they're expensive to treat. The US doesn't provide free college because military numbers would plummet. Mine is strange and has to do with Grindr, but I've been testing an idea. Not a scientist, so I could absolutely be convincing myself it's happening. That I think is actually being implemented on their app. In a nutshell, Grindr tracks which guys get clicked on the most, and then an algorithm, assuming they have one that chooses which profiles you see, will cause an ad to pop up every time you click on said profile. Since attractive guys would supposedly get more attention, it would make sense to trigger an ad to pop up when users click on the popular profiles. Even when my Alexa is muted, it's still listening but just doesn't respond. That the media on all sides of any argument intentionally promotes the most extreme points of view to keep the people divided so they never reach consensus and are easy to control, manipulate. There's a direct correlation between the decline of spirograph and the rise in gang activity. McAfee and Epstein didn't kill themselves. The Tianjin explosion was a result of China either working on or moving dangerous materials, and while explosion was non-nuclear, materials were radioactive. Radioactive slag was found nearby afterwards, as well as the epicenter of the explosion doesn't match the official reports. Later deleted satellite photos showed the explosion was either on the street or below in the sewers, access tunnels. Not within the nearby factory like China suggests. Not a huge conspiracy, just China trying to keep its nuclear energy weapons information hush-hush after a mishap. They're trying to get us stuck in perpetual fear, apathy, so that we don't make plans for our own futures and instead buy things now, and fall in line with what agendas they want to push. The Saudi regime was actively involved in 9/11. I'm not at all a 9/11 truther. Wholeheartedly no UBL did it. But Building 7 makes no frocking sense to me. That no one here is mentioning Facebook going down after 8 years just in time. One day before whistleblower was scheduled to talk. John Wilkes Booth didn't act alone. Which is true. It was a real conspiracy. That the government collaborated with tech companies to promote taking selfies to advance facial recognition software. Well, I don't actually believe the government is putting stuff in our water that's turning the frogs gay. I do, however, believe the large amount of urine containing birth control waste getting out into the sewage is becoming an ecological problem. The US purposely defunds schools because stupid people are easier to manipulate. Republicans, Democrats aren't as hostile as we're led on to believe and actually agree a lot, but are using our differences in beliefs to control us. Products are not made to last. The selfie filter trend, where people took selfies and it would show what your future aged version would look like, was actually delivered by the government to use for AI. Mattress firms. That Epstein didn't kill himself. This one should be easy to accept. Camera footage was corrupted, and the guards were asleep during the incident. OKAAAAYDUUUDE. JFK was murdered by the US government. Most homework in high school is not to improve students' grades. It's busy work to either keep them out of trouble and make them more manageable, or to prepare them for the boredom of menial labor, long hours, and working off the clock uncompensated. That there are aliens among us right now. That knowing too much, finding out certain information could get you killed. Shorts never covered. O.J. Simpson as Khloe Kardashian's father.